Alrighty guys, practice 14 today, our last basically jersey helmet practice that we had to have by NCAA rule, and now we get to move on to the spring game. With a couple guys that are going to be out, I'm going to list the guys that will be out for the spring game. Obviously Kenny Bigelow will be out, Isaiah Langley will be out, Porter Gustin, Andrew Voorhees, Daniel Amortabebe, Tyler Petit, Deontay Burnett, and Pai Young, as well as Chuma Doga. So because of that, we're actually going to have to be able to go to basically a situational practice, and with that, no score will be kept. Our numbers are so limited that we're going to have to, do a phase, take a break, and then move to the next situation. With that, the situations, we'll do a 7-on-7 scale. Then we'll have a team run emphasis with run play action RPO. We'll put our offense in a backed up situation and work out from our own end zone. We'll move into some open field situations, and that'll be a tackle situation for us. We'll move down to the red zone. We'll put Mike Brown in a couple situations where he has to operate in the Coliseum, and then we'll finish up with a 2-minute segment. So more of a situational phase, and because of that, no score kept. With that, I'll answer any questions that you got.
Are these all minor injuries, or?
Yeah, so nothing that's season ending, but it's things that have nagged that if they were put in a contact situation, it's only going to make worse. So we've decided, our doctors and medical staff made good decisions about pulling the guys that could actually injure themselves. So we're going to do that and be safe.
What was the issue with Daniel Amortabebe?
He has a shoulder injury right now, shoulder injury.
We never saw Jack Jones on offense.
Yes.
Is that just something that's probably not going to happen?
No, it's something that we're going to have to wait until we get better numbers. When we looked up, we were about out of corners. You basically had Jack and Biggie, and then you had a few guys behind him. We got so low we actually saw Jamel out there playing a little corner himself with his cover skills. So we're just so limited number-wise right now. Hopefully by the time we hit fall camp, we'll be able to do a little bit more with him.
How do you feel like he's been playing lately?
Exceptional. Made a big play in a two-minute situation there against a good quarterback, and you can see he's always had confidence, but you see his assignment being very assignment sound right now. He's always been a guy that has taken chances, and he's playing within himself. He's using better technique and fundamentals. He has progressed a bunch in these 15 practices, which is good to see. We're going to have to count on him next year.
Defense looked really solid in that two-point situation down and towards the end. What have you seen from the defense, and how encouraged have you been this spring?
Yeah, again, with the experience on defense, returning 8 starters, and then you have some guys that have played a lot of football too here. John Houston, Jordan Iosefa, Chris Hawkins. You just look at those guys in the back there, they've just played a ton of football. And then second year in the system, I can't say enough how important it is to keep staff consistency and keep the same system. You can just see those guys playing with confidence. And I thought today they did a great job with situational mastery. That was a 2-point play segment that it was best out of 3 and really shut the offense out. So credit to the defense. They have played consistent from practice 1 all the way through.
How did John Houston approach being out for all of last year with the back injury and not being able to be fully part of the team?
Yeah, that was his first year, and last year, he really did a nice job on special teams for us. He was really one of the special teams leaders, and I really love guys that, when you go to them and say, hey, this is your role, we're going to define your role, we need you to accept that role and then star in your role. And that's what he did. He truly said, Coach, how can I help you? And he helped John Baxter. He was a role player on defense for us, and he really started in his role. And when you do that, what happens? You start moving up the depth chart, and that's what he's done. He's put himself in a position to be more of a contributor this year at still a really young age. He's still got 3 years left to play here, so that's good to see him progressing and maturing.
He was one of those guys that was pretty highly regarded coming out of high school. Maybe thought maybe he could have an immediate impact. How did he buy into to doing what you said, accepting that role in special teams?
Yeah, I think one of it was he was just so happy to be back. You remember his first year here, he was out. It was a back injury that took months to be able to rehab and get better, and we made that investment. That we were going to get him 100% all the way healthy before bringing him back, and it took a full year. And I think just for the joy of being out here practicing and playing again had a lot to do with it. And he's a really unselfish kid that had some great leaders around him like Mike Hutchings and Cam Smith that really put him under their wing and really matured him not only as a player but understanding that your time is going to come, and when it does you better be ready for that opportunity. I think he's made the most of it.
How do you approach the summer, and do you make any changes to how you did it last year, having gotten through it and as a head coach once?
Yeah, I think this is a different football team than last year. I think you have to address that right off the bat, that you may have to tinker a little bit because of your personnel. And that's one of the things that we'll do. We'll reevaluate these 15 practices and see where every piece of the puzzle fits. For myself personally, I always go back and look at self-improvement for myself. I thought last year we did a terrific job of situational mastery throughout the season, but one of the things that I think I can do a better job of, how important it is to start fast and play clean football right off the get-go. That it's not all about the X's and O's and about the scheme, but reminding these guys how they won down the stretch. It was because they didn't turn the ball over. They didn't have penalties. They played great, clean assignment football. And that's where my job is, to make sure that's happening. Sometimes you get so caught up in the X's and O's and schemes that you lose sight of what's really important. In losing games is you lose the game, not the other opponent beating you sometimes, but you physically lose the game by your mental errors, your decision-making errors, or turning the ball over.
So when you say get off to a good start, do you mean at the start of games or the start of the season?
Start of the season. I mean, the fact of the matter is, everybody talked about us being one of the better teams out there. Oh, maybe we were a playoff team. But the fact of the matter is we lost 3 games early in the season. And one of the things that we have to do to be able to have a really special year is to be able to start fast right from the get-go, because every game counts. I'd look at last season and you look at the basically the story that those 4 teams put together in the playoff. They were consistent game in and game out. They put a great resume together that was undeniable. So you may have a strong finish like we did in the month of October and November, but September is equally as important, and we have to realize that.
Is there a time frame for when you expect to hear on Matt Bormeister? And do you know when that
No, I have no
his availability for the
I
year?
have no time frame on that. I'll let you finish that.
Thank you. With so many of your primary offensive linemen being sideline or limited, was there a reserve that in particular stood out to you in the spring?
Guys that really surprised me early was really nice to see was Andrew Voorhees early, to see that man. He may be able to help us in a role there. The other 2 guys that I think got major opportunities was a Roy Hemsley and a Clayton Johnson. It was great to see Cole Smith getting that amount of reps and developing as a young player. It'll be nice for them to be able to get that reps. Lord was probably watching after us. We got to progress a couple guys, and then hopefully we get to bring back a Toa, a Vianney, and a healthy Nico that really will solidify that offensive line, as well as 5 newcomers that are coming about also. All righty, guys, thank you.